Hello, everyone. I'm 12 years old and a health advocate for my peers. I decided to become an advocate 3 years ago after I became fully aware of the issue of childhood obesity. My parents support and nurture my interest, and I am guided and supported by the Alliance for a Healthier Generation. As one of 21 Youth Advisory Board members, I support the Alliance with its mission to combat childhood obesity. So I'd like to start by saying that the Alliance has encouraged, given me the tools I need, and empowered me to make a difference in my community and beyond. And I am grateful for the opportunities like this one that they provide me and all of the other board members to engage, motivate, and inspire. I am very honored to be the framing speaker on the final panel of the day on living healthy. This is truly a dream come true. Now, you may wonder, what does a 12-year-old youth advocate do? And exactly how do we support the Alliance with such an important and complex mission? Well, one of my most notable roles outside of the Alliance is serving as a youth spokesperson and junior chef consultant for Hyatt Hotels. I had the fantastic opportunity to assist Hyatt working with their chefs to create a fun, fresh, and flavorful For Kids by Kids menu. Now, kids visiting Hyatt will have the amazing opportunity to have healthier, more sophisticated menu options, breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Now, from the age of 5, I rejected the typical kids menu. They're always limited, the same old, greasy or deep-fried finger foods, pizza, and pasta. Being a foodie, I was very excited to be a part of this project. Now, while this relationship with Hyatt is both amazing and exciting, I'm just so proud to serve the Alliance in my community. In that role, I do healthy cooking demonstrations and encourage kids to embrace healthy habits. It's been an amazing experience to work with various groups and ages of kids who are always engaged and have tons of fun while learning. And they're always impressed that a kid is actually doing the presentation. I've been told by many older kids that I've inspired them to do things they thought they couldn't do before. This makes me very happy because the whole point of what I do is to positively motivate and inspire. I also host a Healthy Adventures Club at my school, St. Gregory College Preparatory School in Tucson, where I attend, and I created the Healthy Girl Adventures Club, which is an online club for girls where we motivate and inspire each other to get healthy. Another project is my annual Heal Festival on Global Youth Service Day. And most recently, my mom and I co-founded the HAPPY organization. HAPPY stands for Healthy, Active, Positive, Purposeful Youth. And through this program, we plan to improve the health and well-being of youth and their families in our community. I know that my efforts might sound like a lot for a 12-year-old. I hear that all the time. But the thing that motivates me are the horrifying childhood obesity statistics and reports saying that our generation will possibly live a shorter lifespan than the adults in our lives if things don't change. So I started thinking about the fact that we depend on many adults. We depend on adults for care, guidance, love, support, and encouragement. We need adults to pass laws that protect us and implement policies and programs in our schools and communities that will improve our health and well-being. We need adults to feed us healthy food and keep us physically active. This sounds reasonable enough because we're kids, right? Well, of course it does. But then I noticed a significant problem with its dependency. I noticed that because adults control what we do, learn, and eat, many of us are suffering from a lack of proper nutrition, education, and physical activity. So I had questions about that, like, why is there a childhood obesity epidemic? Why don't all kids know where their food comes from and how it grows? Why don't all kids get proper nutrition, education, and even PE in school? And my biggest question, why is it okay with so many adults in certain industries that we are sold and served overly salty and sweet, fried, dried, processed, and fake foods? Then my questions changed. I began asking, is it possible for us kids to help with that problem? Can we speak out against the issues that are making us overweight and sick? Can I become a health advocate and join forces with the adults in our community and country that do care and work every day to give children a healthier life and future? And the answer that I got from the Alliance for a Healthier Generation, from Hyatt, and from many amazing individuals in my community and country, and even from the First Lady of the United States was, yes, you can. So, inspired, supported, and encouraged, here I am today demonstrating that kids can be helpful advocates. We do care. We want to know how to avoid and basically educate each other about the unhealthy habits that we should avoid. And we can help to educate and inspire each other. And we can help adults to combat childhood obesity. So, my mission is to engage, motivate, educate to the best of my ability, and inspire a healthier generation of kids who know what healthy food is, where it comes from, how it grows, and how to make it taste amazing, and about fun ways to keep physically active, and most importantly, how to join in the fight against childhood obesity. Because together, we kids and adults can win that battle. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Kessy Wasserman to the stage.
So I get to follow her, who was extraordinary. And to age myself, I didn't think I was that old. She did it on an iPad. I have chicken scratch on papers. And then I'll be bringing up a few friends who all have these big Olympic medals hanging around their necks, so I am in the worst possible place to be for one of these things. So over the last year, the Wasserman Foundation and the Clinton Foundation's Alliance for a Healthier Generation have worked together to help reverse the nationwide childhood obesity epidemic. Professional athletes visited schools across the country to inspire students to live healthy, active lives. Through our collaboration with the Alliance, NBA players such as Brandon Knight, Trey Tompkins, and Quincy Pondexter visited dozens of schools over the past year. I am proud to continue our partnership and formalize our commitment with the Alliance and share just some of our 2013 athlete visits. NBA All-Star Al Horford of the Atlanta Hawks will be visiting Oakland Elementary School in Atlanta next month. NBA All-Star Russell Westbrook of the Oklahoma City Thunder has committed to visiting a school in the coming months. And Gervais Vasquez of the New Orleans Hornets will also be visiting schools in the New Orleans area in the coming months during the season. And while those athletes are busy playing games right now for their respective NBA teams, I did bring a few friends with me today to share their commitment to our partnership. First, two-time U.S. Olympic gold medal cyclist Kristen Armstrong will be on stage with me in a second, and you will be hearing from her on the next panel. She's coming? There she is. She has 2 gold medals. No one told her they were supposed to bring them, so you can pretend. I don't have any, so it's actually much better for her. April Ross and Jen Kessy, professional beach volleyball players and U.S. Olympic silver medalists in London. And if those of you who watched the London Olympics this year, they were an extraordinary story. And lastly, Rebecca Soni, a 6-time Olympic medalist for those gold, who won 2 gold medals in London and broke 5 world records, including her own record twice in London this year, and an extraordinary. So now I'm going to do the smart thing and stand out of the way and let them talk about what their commitments are.
Hi, everyone. It is such an honor to be here. As Olympians and professional athletes, this is an issue that we're very interested in and passionate about. And I thought we knew, a lot about this issue, but I've learned so much today and been so inspired by what everyone has had to say. So we're just super excited to participate in the Health Matters Initiative and pair with the Wasserman Foundation's project to get in schools and help fight childhood obesity.
Hi, I'm Jennifer Kessy. That was April. We have pledged today. We're going to school on February 14th, Finley Elementary School in Westminster. And we talk a lot about Olympics and our goals and all this, but today, with all of this stuff that we have learned, we will speak much more about health and wellness, and that is our pledge.
Hi, I'm Rebecca Soni. My pledge actually starts tomorrow. I'm really excited to take a visit to a local school. Tomorrow I'm going to Benjamin Franklin Elementary, and I'm really excited to not only share my story and my progress to get me to the Olympics, but also really emphasize health and wellness and fighting childhood obesity. And also, which I think is really important, is I want to bring this message back to the swimming community because we talk so much about the sport itself and technique, but I think there's so much more that goes into it, both mental, physical, everything from how you eat from a little kid and bringing those messages to make it a more well-rounded approach. So.
Hello, I'm Kristen Armstrong, and I'll be on the panel coming up here, so I'll be able to speak to you a little bit more in just a bit. But after being here today, it's been so inspiring, and I continue and will continue to go throughout the state of Idaho and talk about childhood obesity. And I work very closely with the local hospital that's statewide, and I work with the Children's Hospital and do a lot of programs with youth sports. And we are addressing right now at home what we can do to change things. Thank you.
So now I get to be on stage with 4 Olympic medalists and the former President of the United States.
You can tell I don't belong in this group. Too old, too slow, too weak. I want to thank Kessy and these fine women whom I had a chance to visit with earlier for being here, because I think one of the most important things that great athletes can do in this whole wellness initiative is convince people that it's worth being healthy if you're not an Olympic athlete, if you're not an NBA player, if you're not a whatever, that you are what you are, and whatever it is you're doing, you'll do better if you're healthy. And I'm very grateful to them. I think we should all be, and I thank you very much. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Jillian, Michaels, and the panelists.
Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for being here. I want to take a moment before we get started to introduce myself. My name is Jillian Michaels. I'm a fitness trainer, nutritionist. You may know me from a little show on NBC called The Biggest Loser. And today, I'm going to be moderating a panel on living healthy. But before we get started, I want to thank President Clinton and the Clinton Foundation for organizing this conference so we can all come together, share ideas, motivate one another, and inspire change on such an important topic. And when I think about the topic of living healthy, health can seem really dry. It's not so fun, it's kind of a chore. You have to work out, you have to eat chicken and broccoli. But the reality is that health is the foundation that you build your life on. And when your health is solid, every other aspect of your life is going to be stronger. So that's why I think this panel is so important. And I'm really excited to introduce our panelists. So, of course, we have Dan Buettner, who's the founder of the Blue Zones, Gary Player, who's an international ambassador of golf, Kristen Armstrong, two-time gold medalist, Olympian in cycling. Haile Thomas, who I just have to say killed it in my workout this morning. I need a round of applause. My goodness, of what you've done before, I wasn't impressed, but when you smoked my workout, that's when you sold me. She's on the Youth Advisory Board for the Alliance for a Healthier Generation, and of course, Dr. Deepak Chopra, founder of the Chopra Foundation. So, guys, thank you so much for coming. Now, before we open it up to your questions, I want to give each of our panelists a chance to talk to you about what living healthy means to them. So, Dan, would you please start?
Sure. So, as I mentioned before, I'm the cheater. I reverse engineer longevity by finding the parts of the world where people actually live the longest and then try to figure out exactly what they're doing. And no matter where you go on the planet, whether it's Okinawa or Sardinia or the Nicoya Peninsula of Costa Rica, or among the longest lived people in America, which are the Seventh-day Adventists, you see the same 9 things happening over and over and over again. And the first one is they don't really exercise. In fact, the average American burns fewer than 100 calories a day engaged in exercise. You don't see these people reaching age 100 having done marathons or triathlons. They live in environments where they're nudged to move a little bit every single day. Instead of waking up early and just doing a workout, they might move a little bit every hour or every 2 hours. They keep their metabolism at a higher level. I'm a big fan of trying to engineer little nudges to move every single day. They have vocabulary for sense of purpose. We know it's worth about 8 extra years of life expectancy to know why you wake up in the morning. You talk about these exotic islands in the middle of the Mediterranean or the South Pacific, and you think that people don't have stress there, but the reality is, and I spent 8 years with these people, they worry about the same things we worry about. They worry about their kids, they worry about their finances, they worry about their health. But what they have that we don't when it comes to reversing the chronic inflammation of daily stress are sacred rituals. They pray, they meditate, they do happy hour, but something a little bit every day to turn this stress of everyday living around. When it comes to eating, and this is really interesting, we actually found every dietary survey over the past 100 years in every blue zone around the world. So we actually know what 100-year-olds really ate. And when you spreadsheet it out, it's like a huge Sudoku puzzle. You see very clearly they ate mostly a plant-based diet, but they actually ate meat. And this shocked me. In every culture of longevity, they also eat pork, but they only eat a little bit. A portion about the size of a deck of cards, maybe 5 times per month or do it during a celebration. They don't eat a lot of fish. And the 2 foods you see most often in longevity diets around the world are beans, probably 5 to 7 times as many beans as Americans eat, and nuts. That is the all-American or the all-world longevity snack. Things that work even better, though, than thinking about what we eat are little strategies to keep from overeating. Eating breakfast, eating off of 10-inch plates, or pre-plating your food. You want to cut 20% out of your diet without even try it. Pre-plate your food at the counter and then bring your food to the table. Finally, investing in your family, keeping your aging parents nearby. Belonging to a faith. You say, well, how boring is that? But we know that people who show up to church or temple or mosque live 4 to 14 years longer than people who don't. And that 14 years, incidentally, goes to inner city minorities, and it costs 0. And then finally, and I think this is the big takeaway when it comes to healthy living, something that's really going to work, thinking about your social network. We know that obesity is as contagious as catching a cold. Loneliness is contagious. Drug use, tobacco smoking, even happiness is contagious. So taking stock in who your friends are, and if they're the sort of toxic ones, as Oprah might call them, proactively surround yourself with a better social network. Golfers, for example. That'll stack the deck in favor of longevity and health more than just about anything else.
Dan, thank you so much. Wow, I mean, he pretty much did my job for me here. So with that said, on golfers, Gary, what can you share with us?
Well, Dan's obviously never had to hole a 4-foot putt for $1 million. But first of all, I'd just like to say to President Clinton, what a fantastic man he's been. I have now traveled, I think, more miles than any human being that's ever lived. I've been traveling for 60 years. And what a wonderful president during his term of presidency. But I think post-presidency, isn't it wonderful to see that a man will devote his time, where he could quite easily, after having the hectic life he did, just go and relax somewhere on an island. But he's doing so much which for society and as a great contributor. He and his daughter, which is nice to have your daughter in your business with you as well. But I got a kick out of it today when he was talking about his wife saying, you know, well, he said she might have 3 husbands. Because the other day I was in Jacksonville and this guy came up and he said to me, he said, I'd like you to meet my wife. I've just given her a trip here. I said, your first wife? He says, no. I said, your second? He says, no. I said, your third? He says, no. I said, your fourth? He says, yes. I said, baby, you better get as much as you can because you're ready to get your butt kicked out next. So make sure you get what you can. And yesterday I go in then to meet at the golf tournament, I go to meet all the volunteers because these people give their time and they do so much for all of us, meet us at the airport. And this lady of 94 who's been a volunteer for 50 years comes up and gives me the most wonderful hug. And I said, gee, you look so beautiful. How are you? She says, are you married? I said, yes. She says, how long? I said, 56 years. She says, won't you divorce your wife? And I've saved a lot of money and I'll marry you. I said, show me the money, honey. For the cash, I can do the dash. But it was that. Not only have I been a professional for 60 years, but I've been exercising profusely for 68 years. My brother in South Africa went to war at the age of 17, and I have many grandchildren, 22, and some of them, when they got to 17, I said, how could my brother have gone to war at 17 years of age? And he said to me, you want to be a professional athlete, promise me you'll exercise for the rest of your life, which I'd adhered to. And I've done that, and it was the greatest thing that ever happened, and I'm so grateful about that. And you know, I'm 77 years of age, and I really feel like I'm just warming up. And so people talk about age because we brainwashed with this, but in South Africa, I worked on my ranch with a man who was, nobody knew his age. He had no idea what his age was, and he wasn't interested about his age. He said, I work hard, I wake up every day, I feel good. When I cannot work hard anymore, I'll know I'm getting old. And that was a great message. It's only a number, we shouldn't worry. And Dan, you know, you mentioned about people eating meat. I don't eat much meat or pork for that matter at all. But in those days, in those countries you're mentioning, there's not steroids in all the meat. There's not antibiotics in all the chicken. There's not hormones in all the pork. And so, yes, we have all this food, and America, the greatest country on this planet, has all the great food, but they're the most undernourished nation in the world. This is why we're having all these diseases. And so, the message I've got traveling around the world, speaking to the great people of the world, particularly people that have had longevity and live a long time, all averaging over 90 years of age, they all said, the less you eat, the longer you live, which is fantastic news for me to hear. And remember that your body is a holy temple, it's not a trash can. And if you think and you watch people eat today, they have breakfast at these country clubs, they all eat like it's the Last Supper. 5 pieces of bacon. I mean, it's frightening. And then you go to the schools, and in America today, the greatest country on the earth by such a long way, you go to the schools, which I visit, they never tell them about exercise, they never teach them about diet, never teach them about how to prepare yourself for when you leave school one day, and I think that's absolutely essential. So we formed a thing with Mercedes and also a friend of mine in South Africa called Coaches Across America, because I went to many senators and congressmen and appealed about having more exercise in school. In South Africa, we have exercise in school 3 times a week. Here they're taking it out of schools because they want to save money and it's costing them money. So what we did, we got these Coaches of America, 250 for a starter. They're going across America, giving employment, but also getting young people to exercise and take an interest in health. And it's going to go from strength to strength. And obesity, when you think about it, the wars that are taking place in the world today, obesity is killing, obesity-related diseases is killing a lot more people than the wars. So this is something we've got to put a concerted effort into. But there's got to be an incentive. Incentivize is important. To have an incentive in life is an essential ingredient. Why can't every company, for example, why must you always ask the government for money? Why can't you help your government, as President Kennedy once said? Why can't you have 5 tests or 4 tests? Test your cholesterol, your sugar count, your blood pressure, your heart rate, whatever it may be, and say, okay, you're in unemployment. If you can prove to me at the end of the year that you've improved yourself considerably, you won't pay as much on your health insurance, whatever the case may be. Encourage people. Make it worth their while, and you'll find people will get off their butts. Because with all the technology and all the listenings that I hear and I attend and I listen to today, they're all great ideas, wonderful people devoting and giving their times. But you've got to find people to do it. You've got to find something to make people do it. I get up every morning. This morning at 5 o'clock, I do 1,000 sit-ups. Why? Because I want to do it. I don't have somebody to tell me to do it. But how do we find people to actually go ahead and do it? We've got to control. We've got to have somebody control the food that we're eating. You look at something today in a supermarket, there's so much stuff there could be poison. You wouldn't know, you'd eat it. So who's controlling all of this? Isn't that important to know what we eat? If you stay healthy today, one man out of every 2 men in America get cancer. 1 in every 3 women get cancer. Diabetes, I've been told, because my son's a type 1, that unless we find something better than insulin, in 40 to 50 years' time, we'll have 80 million Americans with diabetes. It's a tsunami, not only America, but worldwide now, except China. I noticed that they didn't have this. The average cholesterol in China is 119. The average in America is 219. So we've got to do something to control this. You're lucky if you don't get sick. My daughter's just had breast cancer, and she's 48 years of age. She exercises. She doesn't smoke. She doesn't drink. She eats nicely. She eats well, I think, and she's got breast cancer. You're lucky if you don't get it, because we have so much junk and poison in our foods. So that's the big thing that we've got to try and control.
Gary, thank you so much. So far, what I've enjoyed the most is the 2 tips I'm walking away with. Don't be the 4th wife, be the 1st wife, and happy hour is good for you. I'm loving this so far.
Wait a minute, how about the 1,000 sit-ups at 5 a.m.?
I can do without that. I would rather stick needles in my eyes than do that. But the happy hour I can handle. Kristin, please.
Well, first of all, I have to share this problem that I have today with you. And it's funny, I was brought here to talk today about the struggles of living a healthy lifestyle. And to be honest with you, I'm living in that struggle myself lately. And I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, Kristen Armstrong, Olympic athlete, it has to be easy for her. And that's what I thought. But things have changed. You know, for a long time, it was easy. But lately, not so much. Sure, I mean, waking up at 6 a.m. and going out in 32-degree weather, going out for 5 to 6 hour rides in the desert by myself, that wasn't much fun. And calculating and writing down every piece of food I put in my body, day after day, and year after year, that wasn't fun either. But to be honest with you, I still feel that I had it easier than most. Why? Because I had something that most people don't have. I had a team. You know, when you get paid to do what you love for a living, you actually can hire the best. So I had exercise physiologists, I had trainers, I had coaches, I had nutritionists, I had teammates, and most importantly, I had fans. When things were rough, fans were patting me on the back, getting me to the finish line, and we were all working towards one goal, and that was to bring home the Olympic gold medal. You know, from the minute I woke up to the minute I went to bed, my life was regimented. You know, when your goal in life is to be physically fit and you have these athletic goals, you have a lot of time in the day to do it, to make it happen. And I heard this rumor that some of you have this nagging thing that just gets in the way of living a healthy lifestyle. I think they're called jobs. And some of you have been plagued by these annoying time wasters, kids. But I know that we can all agree upon one thing today, and that is sometimes life gets in the way of doing what we know we should be doing. In 2008, I went to Beijing and I won the gold medal, and I came home and I pulled the Brett Favre type of retirement, short-lived. Wanted to have a family, so my husband and I, we had our beautiful son Lucas. Yep, an annoying time waster. But it was the best thing that had ever happened to us. Did it change my life? Absolutely. Without a team, I realized for the first time in my life what it was like for the rest of the world to fit in exercise. It was an eye-opening experience for sure. But you know what they say? They say, you can take the girl out of the cycling, but you can't take the cycling out of the girl. Well, I guess they really don't say that, but that's beside the point. So I put my team back together, and 2 years later, went to London, won the gold with my 2-year-old on my side at the age of 39. Came home. I came home and I retired for good. Well, maybe. Now I have to have a real job. I have to raise my son, all without a team. And at the same time, try to fit in exercise on a daily basis. It can be hard, can't it? But then I realized, once upon a time, Kristen Armstrong wasn't a professional cyclist. In fact, she was on the road to compete in the Olympic Games in a different sport. I was on the road to compete in the sport of triathlon, until one day in the doctor's office, I was told that you have arthritis in both hips and you should no longer run. At that point, my heart sunk, and I was like, well, I threw in the towel, and I thought, okay, it's time to get a real job. And I went out and got a real job, and I rode my bike for fun. I rode my bike because it was healthy. There was no team. There were no coaches. It was just me, my fiance, now husband, Joe. He encouraged me. He patted me on the back when I worked out. We worked together to eat healthy. What are you doing? I know that we're all always consumed with how are we going to live a healthy lifestyle? How can we fit it into our lives? Have you opened your eyes lately and looked left and right and see how many people are screaming for our help? You don't have to be a coach. You don't have to be a trainer to have a huge impact in other people's healthy lifestyle. Ask them to go for a walk. Take the stairs instead of the elevator. When you're at dinner, you lead by example. You order the steamed veggies instead of the fries. Notice every step they make. Acknowledge when they're moving. And rejoice in every success. And most important, when they falter, be there to pick them up. You can be someone's team alone. You know, healthy living is simple. It's all about consistency. And it makes it so much easier if you have somebody to be accountable to. I promise you one thing. If you help others, they'll help you in return. Because you have to do this for yourself, and you can't do this alone. Thank you.
Kristin, thank you so much. Haile, obviously, your framing remarks were hugely intimidating for all of us on the panel. But before we move on to Dr. Chopra, I wanted to ask you if you have anything to add before the Q&A.
Yes.
I just wanted to say that us time wasters,
She said that. I did not even acknowledge when she said that. That was outrageous. Shame on you.
I can say that because I have a 2-year-old.
well, we enjoy living healthy if it's put in a fun way. And, you know, if you say you have to eat the chicken and broccoli, then that's not very fun. But if you incorporate, you know, being a part of the process of making the chicken and helping with the broccoli, that all helps to making living healthy a fun process and not kind of like I have to go run a mile today. This is going to be so exciting, kind of thing. And so you just need to make the best of it, because I know at school we have to run a mile every other day, and that's really hard. But, with some friends and things like that, when you make it a fun experience, you really just don't even notice that you're getting that physical activity or eating those healthy foods.
I have to say that actually, as adults, we should take this advice because it should be fun for us too. And we should all focus on finding some activity that we love and do more of it. It doesn't have to be miserable. You're absolutely right, nor should it be. And healthy food can taste great. So thank you for correcting me on that. Dr. Chopra.
So you've heard actually much of what makes for good physical health. And the principles are very simple, okay? One thing that wasn't mentioned was sleep, which is 1/3 of our lives, when our bodies repair themselves. And so sleep is very important. Exercise, especially when you're tired. People use this expression, I'm tired, therefore I can't exercise. Well, if you're tired, that's when you should exercise. You'll feel energetic, and it'll improve the quality of your sleep as well. Diet, you've heard lots of advice here, but in Eastern wisdom traditions, we say the 7 colors of the rainbow and the 6 tastes of life. So if you take the 7 colors, you're getting all the phytochemicals that are derived from the energy of the sun. 6 tastes: sweet, sour, salt, bitter, pungent, astringent. Sweet is not sugar, but the complex carbohydrates. And you're getting everything. And besides that, I have only one other advice, that is, try not to eat anything that comes in a can or has a label. So in addition to that, ideal body weight. But I wanted to talk to you about the other aspects of well-being, because as a senior scientist at Gallup, we've been studying well-being now for many years. And I can assure you that well-being of people correlates with everything that's happening in society. Everything. So, when we started to see the fall of Egypt and Tunisia, we were monitoring the well-being of its people, and it was almost predictable that there would be social unrest. So well-being of individuals and societies, there are easy ways to quantify this, actually correlates with things like crime, hospital admissions, social unrest, GDP in the long run, not necessarily in the short run, and everything else that we think is important in our society. You want to improve the status of a country, you improve their well-being. So right now, Denmark is number 1 in the world, and so is Holland close by, and Sweden and Canada. They're thriving. Their well-being is over 70. The United States, our well-being is 58 out of 100, which means we're struggling. So if you score more than 70 as a person or as a society, then you're thriving. If you score between 50 to 70 or 40 to 70, you're struggling. United States, we're struggling for all the reasons that you've heard. Obesity primarily, and lack of exercise, and really terrible food. And then there are countries that are suffering where the score is less than 40. And you know that disaster is going to happen, including violence, social unrest, terrorism. These start to emerge when you're not experiencing well-being. We monitor well-being in 5 buckets. Physical well-being, which I've already mentioned. Career well-being. Are you happy with your job? If you poll the world, you'll find that 20% of people actually have purpose, Dan, what you mentioned. Okay, that they're enjoying their job, they have passion, or they're using their strengths. If your supervisor ignores you, you start to get disengaged, and within a few months, you start to get ill. If your supervisor doesn't ignore you, but criticizes you, you actually get better. Your rate of disengagement falls to about from 40% to 20%, because you would rather be acknowledged. Even if you're criticized, you would rather be noticed than ignored. And if your supervisor notices a single strength that you have, your rate of disengagement goes down to less than 1%. So we say that, we help people find jobs where they use their strengths, where they complement each other's strengths, where they acknowledge each other's strengths, because the rate of the cost to the United States alone in a year from disengaged and actively disengaged workers. Actively disengaged means that these people come to work not only unhappy, but with the express intention of making other people unhappy, because misery is also contagious. So it's about $300 billion, disengagement because of lack of well-being. Social well-being, you mentioned, your network of happy friends. If you have a happy friend, your happiness goes up by 15%. If your happy friend has a happy friend that you don't know, it goes up another 10%. And if your happy friend's happy friend has a happy friend whom you don't know, it still keeps going up. So at first you say, what's going on? How does the happiness of people that you don't know change your happiness? And is it relevant? Yes, it's relevant, because happiness has its own neurochemistry, and happy people make wiser choices. And the answer seems to be that, number one, when two people engage, it's not just those two people, it's all the people in their lives, and all the people in the persons I'm speaking to you. So all the people in my life are actually influencing my state of well-being, and all the people in your life are influencing your state of well-being. So it's very important to increase your network of happy friends. Send them an emoticon. Make one person happy every day by giving them a little attention, affection, appreciation. I use Twitter to do that, and soon we have a pandemic of happy people across the globe. You can give somebody a dopamine hit just by saying something nice to them. And dopamine, as you know, is an immunomodulator. Okay, there are two other buckets that I haven't mentioned. Financial well-being, which simply means it's not the amount of money you have, it's how you live and how secure you feel. So if you don't buy things that you don't need with money that you haven't earned to impress people that you don't like, you'll be all right. Okay? And you won't be asking in the end, why do we have this fiscal cliff? It's very obvious why we have the fiscal cliff. And finally, community well-being. Community well-being is very important. And again, in the wisdom traditions of the world, they say we have three words that we use in Sanskrit: seva, which means service, no personal motivation, at least a few hours every week to just do things for your community. Seva, Simran, a spiritual practice, and you mentioned that, Dan, and that's called Simran, remembrance, your spiritual nature, and satsang, the gathering together, as we are having right now, of people seeking the truth. And that's a very complete, by the way, measurable way of testing your well-being. Of course, these days we have all these gizmos, I'm wearing a bunch of them, that can quantify everything from sleep, the quality of sleep, the amount of calories you're burning, the amount of calories you ingest. And it's good to have these quantifiable measures of your physical well-being, but we can quantify everything else that I've spoken about, including spiritual well-being.
Thank you, Dr. Chopra. Speaking of gizmos, I just have to throw out a poll question for our live audience and our audience watching at home online. And the question is, do you use a pedometer or an exercise tracking device? So please let us know, tweet us, and also we're going to begin your Q&A. So if you have a question and you're watching online, please tweet it to us, and anybody in the live audience, can I see a show of hands for who has a question? The gentleman right here in the blue shirt. Yes.
Bart Foster with Solo Health. Questions for Gary. Gary, I read recently you were asked, you've won hundreds of tournaments all over the world, and you were asked what was the one most memorable and why was it so special for you? And you related it to your fitness and your personal fitness. And I'm wondering if you can just share that quick story with us, because you beat Jack Nicklaus and you beat Arnold Palmer, and it wasn't necessarily because of your golf, but it was because of your fitness regimen. And I'm just really curious of the story.
moment related to the senior tour. There were 5 of us that won the Grand Slam on the regular tour. But without boasting, I was the only man in the world that won the senior Grand Slam, and it was most comforting for me because I'd worked so hard on my fitness and my mind. I did many mind exercises to help me win under pressure. And so winning the senior Grand Slam after the age of 50, that was such a thrill for me, and change is the price of survival. And we've got to be careful in life that we don't pay too much attention to the cliches of our forebearers. We've got to have, you know, our own thoughts and our own, and change. As I say, I can't put enough. Winston Churchill said, change is the price of survival. But when we got people, which is so encouraging, like Humana and the President Clinton's Foundation, and people in this room that are making this concerted effort, isn't it encouraging and very positive to see what's going to take place? And I, as a South African who visited this country, have 15 American grandchildren. I think gratitude is the mother of all attributes. And all I can say is I'm so grateful for what America's done for me and for the rest of the world. Unfortunately, the rest of the world does not appreciate it. You've been this great Samaritan, and you've done so much. And I say thank you from the bottom of my heart.
Thank you. I actually want to be selfish for a minute. I have a question for Haile. Haile, you may or may not know that on The Biggest Loser this season, we're combating childhood obesity. And one of the problems that myself and the other 2 trainers have faced is we have 3 kids who don't control the purse strings, who don't have cars, who can't drive themselves to soccer practice or sign themselves up for dance or organize PE in their schools. And they literally have very little control of what's going on in their homes, with the food, and so on. So what advice can you give to a kid who's probably feeling utterly helpless about how to start taking control in their home and how to address that issue with their parents? And parents, listen, because she's talking to all of us as well.
Well, I feel like honestly we're not helpless even if we feel that way, because you know, if we show a general interest in that we want to be a part of extracurricular activities and we want to do these certain things, we can simply just talk to our parents and show that we actually, you know, we really do care about our health and well-being. And so just showing that interest always helps. And of course you can motivate your family members to, you know, join along with you to get healthier as well. And also in schools, I mean, it might be challenging at first, but as long as you just push through and know that there are so many kids who really do agree with you that we need PE in our schools. And when you build that community of kids who do care, and you go and you really show just how much we deserve to get PE in school and healthier cafeteria lunches, and you know, just show a general interest and that you really, really do want to. And just from there, you know, you can just inspire so many people.
Thank you. Communication and passion is what I'm taking away from that, and those are great tips. Next question. Lady, my very favorite person, Lorena Garcia.
How are you, Jillian?
Hi, bye.
Let me ask you something, and this question is for you.
Oh, okay.
People that, tons of work, super busy, and exercising is not something that probably they find that they can do every day. Where do you go? What do you do? What is that first step? And once you find that courage, once you find that time, what will be your advice of not feeling discouraged once you start, you know, walking or running or doing something for 10 minutes and say, forget it?
Okay.
Where do you go, please?
Okay, we don't have a ton of time, so I'm going to try to be quick. But the first thing I tell people is find a lasting source of motivation. So you can look outside of yourself to catalyze a change, to somebody that inspires you or a story that inspires you. But ultimately, look inside and ask yourself why you want to be healthier, why you want to change, and imagine and visualize all the ways that your life is going to improve, and let that drive you so that when you make the tough choices of gosh, I really want to go home and watch American Idol, but I should go to the gym and do 30 minutes on the Stairmaster. Think it through and prioritize. Next, when it comes to your first step, I really like to make this simple. There's so much conflicting information out there, and it's like one diet tells you to count blocks, and one says points, and one says calories, and one's no carbs, and one's eat 8 hours of the day and not 16. It's insane. Common sense. You all know what's healthy for you. In fact, Dr. Chopra said it best. Avoid labels. Go as little processed as possible. Count your calories. That's the one universal rule. Weight loss is calories in versus calories out. Eat with balance. Move as often as possible. Find something you love, as Haile said, and do more of it. So whether it's dance classes with your husband or paddle boarding or ski lessons with your kids, whatever it might be, find something that you enjoy and do it as often as possible, because life is hard enough without finding that your fitness regimen makes you more miserable. And as we know, that's contagious, which is bad, bad, bad. And just remember every single day that you're worth it. And when you fall off the wagon, and we all fall off the wagon, that's life. It's always going to be 10 steps forward and 8 steps back. If you get a flat tire, do you get out of the car and slash all 3 of your other tires? Of course you don't. You get out of the car, you change the flat, and you keep going. Maybe you call AAA, you get a little help, whatever it might be. It's normal, and I would say find a life that has balance, and here's a good rule of thumb. 80% of the time, try to eat well. 80% of the time, try to fit in exercise. And then 20% of the time, cut yourself a break. If you have a piece of pizza, if you have a piece of chocolate cake, you know what? Food is not just fuel, you should enjoy it. And it's about enjoying it in a very balanced way. Yes, next question.
As a student, I know that hot Cheetos has a very addictive ingredient in them, yet a lot of my friends love them and eat a lot of them, and it's gotten to the point where some people in our school actually eat those instead of the meals, and the school has had to restrict it to 2 bags per person.
Only 2 bags of hot Cheetos. Well, that's rough.
How about just switch to regular Cheetos?
So I'm sorry, honey, your actual question is?
What would you say to them to have them stop doing that? Or
Well, one of the strategies that we found very useful in schools, if a simple policy is put in place where there's simply no eating in hallways and classrooms, no hot Cheetos or regular Cheetos or Fritos or anything. At the end of the year, the BMI, how fat those kids are, is about 11% less in that school that allows, regardless of what's going on during the school lunch, which is the 900-pound gorilla. But that one simple change at all. I'm not saying you have to completely cut spicy hot Cheetos out of your life, but there's probably okay to not bring them to school.
Anyone else want to comment on that question? Haile?
So I know that, especially to motivate kids to stop eating something, or at least make it where it's not 2 bags per day, kids talking to kids absolutely works, because if adults are talking to kids, unfortunately, it sounds like a lecture. So I want you to go home, do some research on hot Cheetos, find out all about it, and go to your classroom and just tell them about it. Because, if they hear it from you, they're going to be like, wow, this kid knows his stuff. So we should probably cut that down to 1 bag a day, or share a bag with a friend kind of thing. So we're not consuming that much processed junk. So just, go up there and motivate them to just stop. And when they listen to you, it's like, hey, that's my friend. I want to do that one day.
And one of my pointers for adults, so we don't sound like we're lecturing, one of the things that I try to say to kids is I try to inspire them in a positive way instead of saying, this is so bad for you and all these bad things are going to happen. Because even as adults, we know that we tune out those messages. We tune out the warnings on cigarette boxes and all of that. I try to say, hey, who are their idols? Who do they look up to? What athletes? Who could it be? Beyonce? Could it be Kobe Bryant? I promise you, Kobe Bryant does not eat flaming Cheetos. That is not how Kristin won a gold medal. So I try to show them their heroes and that their heroes eat healthy, and that's how they have ascended in their field. So something else that we can try as adults. Next question.
Well, this question is to Haile. And first of all, you're a very impressive young lady. And I have a 12-year-old daughter that I'm very proud of. I'm going to show her your video. It's quite amazing.
Thank you.
How would you feel if stores like Walmart, grocery stores, put all the junk food at 4 foot or higher so that your friends can't see them?
Well, that's interesting. I guess it could work in a way, but they're still gonna just ask the taller person to get it for them. So most likely just to, like I said before, educate them about what's in it, and just so they can know. And then really it's up to them. Or put the junk food in the back where it's not that convenient thing that you see first, which is pretty much everywhere. Chocolate in the front, vegetables in the back. So, I think that would work instead of just getting the taller person.
Can't get anything past this generation, can you? We should probably take a question from somebody online. This is from Shannon McDonough, and she says, how can agencies, libraries, and NGOs collaborate to implement intergenerational programs? Any thoughts on this one? Presuming it means intergenerational healthy programs, but...
Well, I think it probably starts out by realizing how important the older generation is to our health. We know that people who help older people actually have better health outcomes. When I was in Sardinia, I met this 107-year-old woman who I met her actually. She was climbing a tree, which is very unusual. But you can't really ask a 100-year-old how they got to be 100 because they don't really know. But she said, well, I know part of it is because I live with my daughter and my grandkids, and I know I feel loved. But more important, she said, and she extended a bony finger to me, she said, more importantly, I know I'm expected to love. So this idea that when you get a certain age, you go to retirement home or you move to Arizona and just play golf, it completely turns it on its head, and it got her out of bed in the morning every day. It got her out of her easy chair. She helped with the kids. She helped grow the garden. She didn't need an exercise program. She didn't need aid of the government. She didn't need something from her employer. What she got was the benefit of a free intergenerational program.
Dr. Chopra.
There are only two reasons people put food in their bodies. One is they're physically hungry, and the second is they're hungry for something else. There's some kind of emotional hunger they're trying to feed. And one of the things that we do not emphasize with children is body awareness, mind-body coordination. In traditions where there is the practice of yoga, breathing, feeling the body. Recently, our foundation has started a program in urban New York called the Urban Yogi. We started going to Queens, and we started working with these children, and they have created their own version of hip-hop yoga. So go to YouTube and check it out, the hip-hop yoga, and what we're doing with the urban yogis. And they've completely they've created their own version of mind-body coordination. In many wisdom traditions, you used to have martial arts, you had Tai Chi, Qigong, judo. These were practices that made you aware of your body, you know, and if you're aware of your body, you want to feel energetic. You know, we use mantras. I want to have a energetic body. I want to be blissfully energetic. My mind should be restfully alert, and my body should be vigorous and energetic. And you repeat that to music and to movement. And little suggestions like every bite is a choice, every move is an opportunity. And then they create music around that.
Love that. Every move is an opportunity.
To me, it's just been so enlightening to see a young girl like Haile, and we all realize we haven't scratched the surface of the mind and the power of the mind. And meeting her today just endorses that what you can do at this age. She's a straight A student. It's a pity they don't have a young lady president of America at your age, because you'd win. And maybe you will be the first lady president one day. You've been fantastic, really. And so the conclusion is that, you know, the youth of a nation are the trustees of posterity, and we've got to put all our efforts into these wonderful young people.
Okay, we're extremely short on time. I'm gonna take one more question. What are they gonna do? Pull us all off with a hook? Here we go. One more question. The gentleman in the front.
Hi, thanks for sharing your time with us. If there's time, what is one thing that each of you is really excited about for the next year, either personally or professionally?
Dr. Chopra, would you like to start?
I'm very excited about helping people create their own dynamic networks that help them solve problems. So I'm calling them dynamic, self-evolving networks for creative solutions using Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn. I posted this idea, and we got 380,000 people said, count me in. So there's obviously people who want to engage and help each other to find creative solutions for health problems.
Haile?
I'm really excited to begin our Happy organization. And hopefully in this year we can get a actual facility in our community where we can have kids come and enjoy healthy cooking demonstrations, physical activities, and just hopefully making our community a better place. And I think this year is definitely going to be great.
Kristin?
I'm excited about my new role as a director of community integration and relationships in the state of Idaho. I think that they were smart in strategically thinking about my background as an athlete and an Olympic gold medalist, and going out and reaching out to the community where they know that my partnership expertise and bringing people together is something that's really strong. And so bringing nonprofits such as the YMCA into our health system like St. Luke's, it's been a struggle. I mean, you have corporate and you have nonprofit, both which are nonprofit, but I would say the health systems act as a little bit more corporate. And so bringing these relationships together, which haven't been done before.
Gary?
I'm so excited that there's the possibility of wars coming to an end this year or very shortly. Such a waste of time. Unfortunately, in the past, we've been inundated with wars, and unfortunately, I don't see wars ever coming to an end in the future, but I sincerely hope so. But it's encouraging to see the move that we're making at the moment.
And I spent 10 years looking at long-lived populations around the world, and the big aha was what they really did was change their environment instead of trying to change themselves as individuals. And in the New England Journal of Medicine, arguably the greatest medical journal, a very popular editorial came out that the American Medical Association is now endorsing the idea of focusing on changing a better environment for America, and I think that will lead to the policies and to the practices that will yield a healthier America.
See, I personally am looking forward to watching my kids continue to blossom. I'm looking forward to my son's first step, my daughter speaking to me in full English sentences. I'm also looking forward to sleeping through the night, which I hear in the next year could happen. But not at all time wasters, let me be clear. The joy and the meaning of my every breath
Haley really doesn't like me anymore, does she? It was just a joke, really. We all understand.
every parent understands. And of course, professionally, I'm really excited that conferences like this are happening, and that people such as these sitting on this panel right now would take their time to come here and speak with all of you who've taken your time to come here and show up and care. I'm so grateful to President Clinton and the Clinton Foundation and the Alliance for a Healthier Generation for not allowing these issues to be swept under the rug. And I do think that if we keep trending in this direction, we're going to turn this around. And that I am excited about. So I want to thank everybody. Thank you guys so much. And thank all of you so much. It's been a blast. We better get going. They're going to come get us. That clock stopped a bit ago. All right.